Hey, blessings and welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today in Ecclesiastes is very similar to some of the days we had in Proverbs and 1st and 2nd Samuel. I mean, they're just jam-packed with law enforcement takeaways. So many so that I'm pretty sure I won't be able to get through all of them today. But man, there's some big ones that I want to hit and I want to highlight. Um, this first section. Um, Solomon talks about timelines. You know, there's a time to be born and a time to die. There's a time for this and a time for that. But there were two that really struck me as I went through these. And the first one is in Ecclesiastes 3:3. This I think is incredibly important to law enforcement. It's kind of this one and 3:8. They can be kind of dark, but they are truths. They could be offensive to somebody, but they're truths. Um, God knows when I'm going to die. It says the appointed times of my birth and my death. They are appointed by God. He knows. Therefore, God also knows the time of the death of the wicked. And immediately as a law enforcement officer, my mind went to, well, what if a police officer has to, by being forced into a situation where he has to take the life of somebody, killing someone in the line of duty. God knew that. It was ordained. It doesn't make it any easier for us, and sometimes we still don't understand it. Solomon will go on and talk about there are mysteries still that some things God just doesn't want us to know yet, and that's found at the end of chapter 7. But we've got to understand that we are ordained by God in Romans chapter 13, and it says we don't carry the sword in vain. There are times we have to use our weapons, and God knows this. God's a God of justice, and there are just some times when these things have to be done. But honestly, I take a little comfort in knowing the fact that if God ordained it, if this was an appointed time, then some of the fact that I did this and I did this horrible thing and I didn't want to do this, I can rest and have peace in the fact that God knew it and God appointed this time. So, it wasn't just me getting into this situation. It wasn't just that I was at the right place at the right time to stop somebody from doing something really evil or wicked. But it was an ordained time from God. Verse 3, verse 8, there's a time for peace and a time for war. It says there is a time to kill and a time to heal. And that's in 3, but these go together. If there is a time to kill and a time to heal, it's ordained and appointed by God. So I wanted to hit on that because I think that's important for us. And man, you could really get into a lot of PTSD stuff with this, and really comfort and peace for an officer involved shooting or any kind of line of duty death. Jumping down to 10, I'm very proud of the 29.5 years I've been in law enforcement. And being a police officer is a big part of my life. Being a part of a ministry that tries to bring the men and women of law enforcement into a knowledge of Jesus Christ that will save their soul is hugely important to me. It's a desire that God's placed in my heart, and I love the fact that it's there. But Solomon says something here. He says, I have seen the task which God has given to the sons of men with which to occupy them. And it made me realize I am not just a police officer. That's not my identity. That's not who hey, what do somebody say, hey, my name is so-and-so. Oh, I'm Chuck Gillen. I'm a police officer. No, that's not my identity. I am a Christian, and I'm a Christian peace officer. But my identity is wrapped up in Christ. And he even says here, your job God gave you just to occupy your time while you're here. Now, he has called you into this job to do the works that he has set before you, but don't let that be your identity. Your identity is in Christ first. 3:11, he has also set eternity in the hearts of men. And that, okay, so we won't know the day or time. I've got this whole thing written out where, you know, and I don't have time to go into it, but if you're interested in it, it equates it to learning how to fire your service pistol on the range. Chuck at fcpo.org if you need that or want that story. It's pretty cool. 12, it says, I know there's nothing better for us to do than to rejoice in the good of one's life. In other words, it's good to reflect on the good things that we've done. It's also good to reflect on the bad things and learn from them, not to dwell on them, but to learn from them so that we can improve in the future. It talks in verse 13 about this reflecting on what we've done and reflecting in the good things. You know, we need to have a good positive attitude, and reflecting on the good things and not the bad things that have happened help us to have a good attitude, and we're better in our community when we have a good attitude and we're helping people. But it says this good attitude, this thinking of the good things, the end of verse 13, it says it is a gift of God. How cool is that? Jumping down to verse 16, Solomon gives us a warning that righteousness and justice will sometimes be occupied by wicked people, and it is up to us as guardians of justice, not just to protect our communities, but to police our own system of righteousness and justice, to keep it functioning as it should. We don't want any wicked people in here doing things to make us look bad. And we don't want wicked people doing anything to afflict harm or oppress anybody. So, golly, it goes on and on. I haven't even gotten out of chapter 3. Tomorrow we're in Ecclesiastes chapters 9 through 12. And then we're going to just take a couple of verses out of 1 Kings chapter 11, verses 41 through 43, and 2 Chronicles 3 verses in chapter 9, and that's 29 through 31. So I look forward to seeing you back here again tomorrow, and you guys be safe.